Hello and welcome to another video focused on the Ouya microconsole. In this video, I'll be talking about the Super Nintendo emulators. There are actually two of them for the Ouya currently. Now, the two emulators both have strengths and weaknesses over each other, so I'm really going to be, comparing and contrasting them. The first of them is the Super G-NES, the premier SNES emulator. This is one that actually charges you 99 cents if you want to have save states. Now, instead of save stating to the console itself, it actually saves the states in like the cloud. Which is weird because it requires an internet connection for your save states. Odd. Alright, so let's boot this up and play some games. So the first thing you'll notice here is the interface is really nice and slick. It's very similar to the Super Nintendo North American design in the background, and it gives you little clip art of each of the box arts for each of your ROM files. Now for games that it doesn't know, it'll just give a generic image, and I guess it does this by scanning the header of the ROM or something. But it is a really cool and unique way of presenting your ROMs here. So let's boot up Super Mario All-Stars here, which is one of my favorites. Everyone's favorite. Now, unlike the NES emulator, and in fact most other emulators for the Ouya, this one does not allow you to change the aspect ratio. You can't put this game in 4:3 or change it to be anything else. Luckily, it seems like it features, it scales the image to be pretty perfect to the screen, so you don't need it to. Alright, enough of that. Another thing you can't do with this emulator is you can't actually configure the controls, which is again annoying. But the controls on the standard Ouya controller is that of the Super Nintendo controller. These are the D-pad, the same 4-button layout and the shoulder buttons. Start and select are mapped to the left and right analog stick clicks. So let's boot up Super Mario Brothers here. Classic game. This is the Super Nintendo version of it. Now, I have to be honest here. In its current state, this emulator is not that great. It definitely has some problems. One of the major issues with here is that the standard Ouya controller has a little bit of lag. It's not much, but it's just a tiny bit, and it's noticeable. This means that I have to compensate, for my movements and sort of do my jumps a little bit more than I would normally if I was just using, a standard Super Nintendo controller. It's still playable, but, especially for, slower paced games like RPGs and whatnot, but it's definitely something that they definitely need to improve on in the future. The audio emulation is not, again, quite perfect. I'd say it's about 95% perfect, but it's just got a little tiny problem. There's sometimes that there's a little bit of clicking, or there's like the audio, it lags just a tiny bit. I mean, just listen to that. It's almost like a bad dream or something, But it's not all bad news with this emulator. One thing that it does that's really awesome is it has a built-in menu here that allows you to do a lot of things like a turbo speed here, or you can go to the video effects here and put on some of these crazy filters. One that's the best and is just really awesome is Super CRT here. Enable this, and now the game runs like it's a CRT with like an old tube TV. The sides of the TV are curved, and this is still playing, on a 50-inch plasma, so pretty damn fantastic at what they were able to do here. Unfortunately, enabling any of the filters even creates more lag than what there normally was, especially when using the stock Ouya controller. Which unfortunately with this emulator, because it only doesn't allow you to remap controls, you have to use the stock Ouya controller. So, you know, they take one step forward, one step back, you know. Another thing you can do is you can go to the settings here and put Super CRT scan lines in. And what this does, it is the same thing, but this adds scan lines. Kinda neat. I definitely like it. It's definitely a neat and nifty feature. Another thing that it has is these Super HQ3X and 2X filters. Now, these make the thing look like an art show. Like, I just love these filters, but unfortunately, that makes the game run like crap. Like, it's almost unplayable like this. It looks awesome, but wow, is this bad. Let's go to the settings here. Let's put this back to default. And let's change the game here. So close. How about running, I don't know, Super Mario World 2, which is Yoshi's Island. Another Super Nintendo classic. See how well this emulates the Super FX 2 chip. Yeah, it runs pretty damn good. For a game that already had a pastel art style, let's put in the pastel art style. Just look at that. If this ran better, this would be awesome, but, you know, the fact that it runs so crap makes it, you know, kind of not worth it. Maybe it would run better if I was connected to the internet actively right now, but right now I am running in offline mode. But it shouldn't need to be connected to the internet to run. I mean, if this is running off of the chipset. This is just something that's really not optimized for the Ouya currently. Alright, enough of that. Put it back to default. And let's try and run one of my favorite games of all time, Mega Man X. Now, Super Nintendo was the king of Capcom. There were so many great Capcom games for this system, along with the NES, that when Mega Man X came out, you know, no one was surprised that it was frickin' amazing. Just check out Eagle Raptor's video if you ever want to see why this game is so awesome. But of course, I don't need him to tell me that, because I've known that since I was a kid. This is one of the best games for the Super Nintendo, easily. Now, just quickly, I'm going to back out of this emulator, and I'm going to go into the other one, which is SNES 9X EX. This one is much more similar to, you know, the standard Ouya emulator here, and I'm going to boot up, I don't know, how about Super Mario Kart? Here, you can actually configure the controls, change the aspect ratio, do all kinds of different things that the other emulator doesn't do. However, this one does not have the awesome CRT scanline emulation effect. And it also runs a little bit worse than the other one does. But over time, both emulators will improve, so, you know, again, I'm only talking about what's currently available as of right now. Super Mario Kart runs just perfect, and a lot of other games like this are perfect on Ouya. If you're a fan of the Super Nintendo, this is definitely the better of the two, if you have the choice. You know, they're both free to try, so, you know, whatever. In fact, I don't think that you have to pay anything to use this emulator whatsoever, which is pretty damn nice. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.